what, 84? I mean, look, my mother lived to be 91 and she smoked every day. I don't smoke. I have an occasional glass of wine. I probably should drink every day. They say that's good for you.
Okay, let me ask you this, Auntie Dorothy. When you first started Fanhs and you compare where it is today, are you satisfied?
Yeah, no, I'm pleased. I'm very, let's just say it's beyond my expectation.
Okay.
Actually, what we wanted to do is to share the information that we had gathered, remember? And we gathered quite a bit in a year and a half, 2 years. What we gathered was, we were gathering things that was really amazing. Just the fact that people come here and borrow these things. And here's the other thing too. The fact that we had the fact that I insisted that we have a conference, because that wasn't popular with the trustees. So that's why Emily and I did the first conference by myself, because the others said, well, yeah, you want a conference? I said, yeah, I want a conference. What are we going to do? You got to share. Part of what we say is sharing and disseminating. And how you disseminate? Well, you disseminate actually by having people come and listen to what you say, or having a book like you did, your book, or having a film or something. So it's out there in the marketplace. If it's sitting in the damn file, what good is it going to do, you know? Oh, I got research, but you can't see it. Well, we got a lot of, I'll tell you what really bothers me. I want the people in Fanhs to share with National. National shares with them, but do they share with us? Some do. You guys do. Some others don't. They don't tell me what they do. So when people... Okay, so the filmmakers came here, and I'm sending them off. Why did I send them off to certain people? Because I knew what they did. There could have been someone else who was much better, but I didn't know what they did. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they know. So tell me, for Christ's sake, so we can share it with the other people. The beauty about the conferences, all of a sudden we gave people a podium.
There you go. Yeah.
A podium to share their experiences, to share their research, and for us to say to them, this is really important. This is good. We embraced what they were saying.
And you didn't even have to have a degree or even be a scholar. It could have been
my major is sociology. But however, I don't deal with history as a historian does, numbers and dates and things. I deal with the human aspect. I am a little bit different.
The story.
For me, it's really important for the humanity of the person I've interviewed to come out.
So what kind of history do you call that?
It's a different kind of history.
I know. Is there a name for that? Maybe you have to...
Auntie Dorothy,
oh, human interest. There you go.
No, not human interest. It is history, because it's gathering the history of people.
But is that why Fanhs is so special, so different from all the organizations, because we're more community-based?
I think what makes Fanhs different was we never were down to one type of person. When Fanhs started, it was open to students and people who were over the hill. I mean, that was it precisely. We had, in fact, Mr. Perez wrote about it at Stockton. He wrote an article in his newspaper, and he said he called Fanhs the most unique Filipino organization. He said there are all kinds of people, American-born, Philippine-born,
and that's what makes it unique.
And we do, and we don't have a junior club. No. I mean, my God.
A youth club? You don't have a youth club?
Not like a junior variety of Fanhs, like, yeah, and 2 years are going to be old folks, so what do we do? No. Sometimes some of the kids do good research. They interview their parent, their grandparent. I mean, that'd be better than somebody who's 30 who just sits around and talks about themselves, which would be interesting. If you're going to talk about yourself, put a tape recorder on so we can hear it, you know? They may be, some people, here's the whole thing. I don't see a whole bunch of people going out. You remember, the one of the most interesting thing was when I was taught how to do the group interviews, you know, like I told you guys how to people feed off each other. That's how I got the vets to speak. If I had interviewed them one-on-one, I wouldn't have gotten the stories. I think because I wasn't one of them, but when I did it as a group, there were 10 men together. It was interesting when okay, this is the premise. John comes to me and he says, I want you to interview some of the Vietnam vets. And I said, okay. So we had a meeting and we met each other. And a lot of the men kind of knew each other. They did know each other. Many of them I did know when they were younger, okay? So we had this one session downstairs, and Seattle Fonz had bought a camera. And they were going to film it. It was going to be the first use of the camera. So we had 10 men sitting on the thing, and I did what I've always done with this group thing, this journal writing thing. I said, okay, everybody's going to do the first thing called, everyone does an image thing. You sit there and you write what you see in a kitchen. One word. And the whole thing is I had everybody read back. That's the way that thing works. And then the woman who trained me and a bunch of other female historians, many of whom had never gotten a degree in history, but we were now historians. She did the Holocaust victims in New York. And so she told us that everybody has to speak. And so everybody read back what they saw in the kitchen. Then I had them do an emotion, how they felt. Because a lot of people say, I can't write. But you can write one word, you can write a phrase. And then once they do it, then they find out that what they're saying is accepted by the other people. So I gave them 3 topics. I said, okay, choose one, and then you choose that and you speak, and everybody goes on the table. Every one of the men spoke on all 3. Their expectations, the first thing, what they did, them returning home. And once they start to talk, because they all were going around the table, what usually takes an hour and a half was a 4-hour session. Those men were saying things they'd never said before. So the gathering of history sometimes, you shouldn't just go in there. We were actually trained how to deal with it. So when I was trained to do this, we were trained and warned, and I've done it maybe 15, 20 times. There's always going to be someone who's going to cry. And I've always been surprised. Most of the time it's a man. Men don't like to show their emotions out until they start really thinking. And they realize that the group around them is receptive. So do you know Gene Navarro?
Mm-hmm.
He cried. And so I've had men working for the city of Seattle. My question to them was first day on the job. Pretty rough when you're an immigrant and you had a high-ranking position in the Philippines your first day on the job. Some of those very same questions, they were funny by American-born. So it all depends. And the thing is, as historians, a lot of times, you're looking for the human aspect. You want to know, how do people feel? How did they fit in? We have to go beyond the numbers of dates. Those are very interesting. Because that's all part of the whole. So there's just, not everybody's like me, and I recognize that. I don't expect them to be me. And I'm not them. So what I do isn't important to them. I mean, what's important to all of us is the gathering.
But Auntie Dorothy, let me ask you something. In the process of gathering and sharing, don't you think what's really amazing is the spiritual human investment of people coming together?
Yeah.
And creating something that you can't really put on paper, but it's something dynamic.
That gathering doesn't come together until you have a gathering. Mm-hmm. And that's what the conferences were. The conference, I was just reading it's so funny, before you guys came, I was cleaning out something and I bumped into some old pictures that I was looking for. They were in a box. Then there was the San Diego conference that you guys didn't go to. Yeah, but that was the one that was a tribute to Fred.
Yeah.
And Art Villaruz wrote something, and he describes the conferences. It's like a family reunion. So people who went, for them it's a gathering. People make friends. That's what Fanhs is. And I would say every organization was like that. The lodges were like that. That's why you had the family reunions are like that. It's like you go to the well and you refresh yourself.
But this
It's
time,
shared experience.
But this time we're refreshing ourselves on a national level. It's a
Right.
big one.
And there are going to be people, with every conference I've learned something. It was at where was that? The first conference, this guy from San Francisco comes up with Oscar Peñaranda. There were three guys come up here. And I was surprised they did. They were all educators. They were all teachers. And they happened to come because they saw it on Escalmado's newspaper. His friend was my PR person. And one of them became a famous Eskrima person. I forget his name. So he does his workshop. And I teach folk dancing at that time. He started telling me something I never knew, but it dawned on me, he's right. He said when the Spaniards tried to put a stop to it, many times they used dance movements as part of it. So things that I was teaching the kids, like sway balance, those were Eskrima movements. I thought, oh my God, and dance is very important to Filipinos. It's part of our cultural baggage. I mean, how many of us, you danced when you were a kid? I'm sure. No?
Yes, I did.
Did you dance? Your sister danced. She
I
told me.
didn't have any rhythm.
Huh?
I didn't have
He
rhythm.
played the instruments.
Why?
My sister danced.
Barbara danced. She told me I was her folk dance teacher. She said, yeah. And I said, really, Barbara? That was a long time ago. But all these different things, you just, what's really interesting is when people, I'll tell you what made me feel good. When I've had students that I taught at UW come up and tell me that it made them understand being a Filipino. And actually the way we taught why we are the way we are. Mm-hmm. And this whole sense of taking care. During the Depression, people took care of each other. Your uncles, your dad, they were a group. To this day, you guys are a group. Mm-hmm. I see that. When Barbara has something, she makes sure all the cousins are there. It passes down.
Yep.
I'm not saying everybody doesn't do that, and we're the only ones, but we, I would say this, that in the future, what we have to do is I hope to God we develop some curious people. And I'm not saying they should be like me who want to do the whole world. If you even focus on one thing. I mean, good. Okay, here's another really interesting thing. We go to San Diego, and that's where I find out about the Philippines opening up the doors to the Jewish who are fleeing the Holocaust. And a film is coming out on that. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to have the Yo-Yo Man do this thing, as a thing, but I got too many people now speaking, so I can't have someone do a demonstration. Though this one guy is going to speak for half an hour, 45 minutes, I don't know about the Philippines, and they could have ended up with a yo-yo guy.
Okay. Okay, Auntie Dorothy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, whatever.
Whatever.